Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. Every single week, I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses that are dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, guys, we got another rock star guest here on the show. Our guest today, Jake MARMULSTEIN. So Jake is the founder and CEO of Groundbreaker, which is a software application that helps real estate investment firms automate workflows in fundraising, investor reporting, and investor management. So Jake breaks down his real estate experience that led him to creating this amazing software company and how this software company helps real estate investors, syndications, and so forth grow and expand their real estate empires. Now, real quick, before we jump into this amazing podcast interview, make sure to download, if you haven't already, make sure to download my new 100% free Nothing Being Sold book at joshuasmithfreebook.com, where I break down top tips, top strategies, top methods that have allowed me over the years to become not just one of the top real estate agents, but also team leaders on the planet. Again, 100% free book, Nothing Being Sold. Go to joshuasmithfreebook.com, snag your copy today. All right, let's jump into this amazing, epic podcast interview. All right, Jake, my man, welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, 100%, man. Stoked and honored to have you here on the show, dude. And, man, I know that, you've built this amazing company, helping real estate investors and so forth now today. And before we get into, all the things that you're up to today, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them to where they are in the first place. Running the clocks, man. I mean, how did this journey begin?
Well, it really started when I was working at a REIT in the Chicago area, and I was basically tasked with managing the back office, managing all of the documentation, and buried in an Excel waterfall model until 2 a.m. After everyone had gone home, and I was still there trying to figure something out. I was like banging my head up against the wall, saying, "Why does it have to be this?" manual? Why does the work have to be so cumbersome? Why aren't we using better technology? And I was pretty young in my career, so I just wanted to kind of, figure things out and make things better all the time. I didn't necessarily want to do my job. So I came up with ideas and ways to improve things, and that's how Groundbreaker was originally conceived of. And it didn't necessarily take that, I didn't take that route right into entrepreneurship. I had no exposure to technology when I was in university. And so I went and started living in Brazil for a different job that I had with the government. And while I was there, I also found out about a local accelerator program that was called 21212, connecting New York and Rio de Janeiro. And the idea was to take concepts that were well proven in the Western world, like things like Skillshare and Udemy and different startups that were big names, and bring them down to South America by creating their Brazilian lookalike version. And so I got exposed to so many different ideas and so many different technology ventures down there that I could kind of connect the dots myself and figure out that it's, I thought at the time, it's not that hard to start a tech company. I can do this too. So when I went back to the United States after having cut my teeth on being an advisor and consultant to several different tech companies there, I went into it not knowing anything. And the story kind of unraveled from that point forward.
Yeah, love it, man. What did you go to school for? What was your kind of path that you were wanting to take when you were in, let's just say, college days?
Well, I didn't really know, but I went to the hotel school at Cornell University, and while I was there, I did a lot of different things, studied languages, studied sociology, psychology. I was part in the hotel school because they had a really heavy curriculum on hospitality education, but it was more like a business degree in a sense. So we learned accounting, restaurant management, hotel operations, hotel development, and then there were a bunch of real estate classes too. And so through those real estate classes, I developed a real estate minor and got my interest in real estate.
Yep. Love it, dude. Love it, man. So you're down in South America. You come back here now that with the experience, consulting experience, like you mentioned, you have this idea now for Groundbreaker. How did it come to fruition, man? Because it doesn't sound like you have necessarily development experience, right? How did that take off with you?
Well, I was in New York City working in a company that I was working for somebody else, conference company, where I was introducing pension funds, endowments, and foundations to alternative investment managers, and just doing that to be able to make some money. And then I started working with a buddy of mine who had done one of the startups in Brazil, and he was teaching me how to do content marketing and content writing. And I just started to learn that over time, to a point where I had people asking me to do work for them, and I was able to get some clients. And so I started a consulting business doing that. So I had some cash flow coming in. That really reduced my risk at the time, when I found out about a friend who was launching a real estate crowdfunding company called Groundbreaker. And I said, man, this is like the coolest thing in the world. They got, posted in Venture Beat about it. It was back in August 2013 when they got written about in that article. And they had a rudimentary website where you could go and post your deals and people could come and check them out. And I thought, this is cool. And these guys look like great guys. There was, somebody from University of Pennsylvania, a guy that graduated Cornell that I'd been friends with there, and he was a bit older than me. And then another guy who was the tech dude from Columbia. And I said, man, this is a rock star team. I want to be a part of this. So I started getting to know the chief operating officer, who was the lawyer of the group, and coming into the office that they had in the Flatiron district on weekends, and working there during weekends, just doing the same thing that I did in Brazil. Basically, show up, try to get into something, and then eventually there came a point where we started to get like a lot of volume, a lot of calls, a lot of leads were coming in, and I was making enough money in the consulting business where I figured I gotta quit this full-time job, do the consulting thing on the side, and go full-time in a Groundbreaker. And so I quit my job with 10 grand in the bank and this consulting thing on the side, and I ended up working full-time as like the first employee at Groundbreaker. And what I was getting from people on the phone when I was answering the phones and taking all the sales calls was that they wanted not only a source of capital, but they were interested in protecting that capital and those relationships, so that they could be able to offer their investors a place to go to invest in their deals, and they might be able to have access to a bunch of investors through the crowd. And so it was kind of like two things in one. And what my vision was telling me from my days at this REIT that I worked at was that there really needs to be a more efficient system for managing the back office. And even though it's interesting to be able to raise capital through crowdfunding, that's not really an innovative solution, because that's been done. Capital is available. There's always capital out there, and people who are really good operators are going to be able to find it. But what they can't do is they can't scale themselves and be able to save time. They can't have better tools. Those tools don't exist. And that's what's really needed. And the market didn't have anything like it. So we ended up pivoting the company. Long story short, chief operating officer quits. I join as a partner. Then, over time, everybody else runs out of money and bandwidth, and I'm still the one beating the drum. And I become the CEO, buy out the other people in the company, restructure it into my own business, and then I form a team around that and raise capital.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. Love it, man. So for those that aren't familiar with Groundbreaker and all the functionality of the system, I know there's so much that you guys do, but can you give us just a breakdown of all the things that you guys do?
So Groundbreaker is really a easy to use, intuitive platform for investors to get access to their investments with a certain type of certain general partner. The general partners are the customers that use the software. They're raising capital for their real estate investments and syndicating the equity to individual limited partners. And so they use Groundbreaker to be able to house all that investor data for their investors to be able to log in, check their documents, check their deals, invest in assets that the general partner is offering to those investors, and be able to service those investors after the fact with providing reports, K1s, and distributions. And so Groundbreaker just provides them a really easy way to disseminate that information, a way for the general partner to look really professional and look good, and to make it just so much easier for their investors to interact with their business.
Yeah, love it, dude. And then are you guys are you guys, as far as availability, I mean, I know most that are listening to this are here in the US, but I mean, are you guys primarily based in the United States, or have you expanded beyond the United States?
We primarily focus in the United States and U.S. assets, or U.S. entities rather, because of the securities laws.
Yep. No, makes sense, man. Makes sense, dude. So then, I'm curious with everything that's going on. There's a lot of uncertainty about the market right now, and there's different areas that are hot and so forth. And I don't know if it might be too early to have some of this data, but we're working with so many investor clients all throughout the United States. Where is, I guess, business taking place and so forth? And has COVID really, have you seen the investment side take a hit through COVID?
Well, initially, people were holding off on making any investments, and that was certainly affecting us and creating somewhat of a pause so that we could kind of figure out where the market was going and what was going to happen. But the need for this technology has actually been accentuated by the remote work and the need for people to collaborate and get access to information in a more efficient way. So we have customers all around the United States. There's a lot of deals that are getting done in areas in Texas, Florida, really throughout the Southeast. There's a lot of deals that are getting done in the Southeast, Southwest. And we have customers that have certain types of strategies that are thriving during this period of time when there's going to be some distressed debt on the market. There's people who are really good at doing that kind of strategy. So it hasn't necessarily gone down the volume in any way. And for us, it's actually been a net positive because of the need for people to be able to use technology now.
Yep. Yeah, I love that, man. So then is you guys' software, is Groundbreaker mainly for those running syndications, or, let's just say if, somebody is self-funding their own deals, but wants a platform to be able to manage their own personal, I guess, portfolio, is it something that can do both?
Well, you could certainly use it if you're trying to manage your own portfolio, but it really becomes valuable when you have outside stakeholders who are going to be asking you for things and taking up your time to be able to get into investments or service themselves. And when you have the tool that Groundbreaker provides, you can scale from one-to-one relationships to one-to-many relationships and be able to economize on your time. But if you're just using your own portfolio, Excel is a great tool for that. I don't know if people would really need Groundbreaker, but it definitely makes things look a lot prettier. So, hey, it depends on, how easy you want to make your life. But the value of the tool really comes the more investors you have and the more deals that you're managing.
Yep. Yep. So then, for those that might be watching and listening that, let's just say that they had interest in I guess, becoming they're new to syndications and so forth, right? Can you kind of just, from a, dumbing down the process a little bit, just kind of explain the process a little bit more in depth, just in case this is, a new concept?
Yeah, so most people who are gearing up for their first syndication, they're going to try to figure out where their market is that they're focusing on and do all their due diligence and research of that market. And then once they figured that out and they know what kind of market, maybe they find out what type of property, their investment thesis, then they're thinking about, okay, well, what kind of asset do I need to invest in? Maybe they start looking at some deals, and then they start thinking about the investors that they're going to fill the equity with. And at that point, maybe they're going to be working on a website and something or materials to be able to share with the investors. And they're kind of throwing it out there and asking their friends, hey, would you invest in this deal, or would you invest in something that I'm doing? How much would you invest for? And they sort of get the idea of, okay, I have an investment thesis, I have a market, I have a property, I've got this list of investors, and these people are interested in getting involved in this deal. And so I'm going to syndicate. And at that point, that's when they would say, hey, Groundbreaker, I want you guys to really build that platform for me so that I can operate my business on top of it, be professional, and have a really streamlined process for raising the capital and managing my investors after I close. And they would tack on Groundbreaker to their website just through a link. So it would be the investors tab, whatever it is, whatever links from your marketing website, they would open up a new tab, and that would be the investor portal that the investors would go to and log into. And if somebody is coming to us and they already have an active portfolio of deals, but they're looking to transition from their current ways of managing things, maybe it's Excel or a CRM system, then we would ask them to share all their data with us. And then we would start to load that data into the system. So when we launch them, their investors can log in with a password and see all the information that they have related to their investments, their K1s, quarterly reports, the investments they've made, the distributions they've gotten back.
Yeah, love it, dude. And just looking at some of the talking points here, that you guys had provided. You talk about the different deal structures and fees that you're seeing on a day-to-day basis right now. Can you kind of break down and give some insight to what you're seeing?
Yeah, well, I typically see groups that offer a 8% preferred return. Most of the clients that we work with do multifamily deals. So they're doing a typical 8% preferred return and then a 50-50 split. Or they're doing an 8% pref, and then there's like a 70-30 split up to a 12% IRR. And then there's another split on top of that might go 50-50. So that's the typical structure where they're leveraging like 75 to 80% of the deal and the loan to value. And usually things are like you say that you're going to do a 5-year hold or a 3-year hold.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it, man. And then in here you talk about, asset classes to consider during the downtime. Cause again, I mean, there's been a lot of changes over the last few years, and it's tough to know what to focus on right now.
Yeah, one of our clients is extremely successful in downturns. He invests in mobile home parks. So yeah, all these people that are wanting to downsize or reduce their costs, you can actually have a really high quality standard of living nowadays in these modern designed mobile home parks that just offer a lot lower commitment in terms of the rent. And they can be located in some pretty good areas. So he's got some really cool assets, actually somewhat near where you are. I think he's got some stuff in Palm Desert. And then there's also industrial. People who are in the industrial space, self-storage, are really killing it as e-commerce becomes bigger. And those companies, need more storage for their goods. And then self-storage as well, as people are looking at, moving and uprooting, and they need to store their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't understand is, even though in a downturn valuations may go down, but if we look at most recessions and depressions, if you look at rents, like 2008, for example, I mean, rents went up because demand for rents are there. Plus people needed storage facilities. So storage facility, right. There's more demand there. So even though the value of maybe the portfolio or your property goes down, rents tend to go up during downturns for sure.
Yeah, also places that have like good vacation markets are also doing really well. So you wouldn't think that people are going to travel that much, but they want to be able to get away and go somewhere that's kind of isolated and further from the city. So these places on the coast are experiencing a good amount of in-state or in national transit from
Yeah.
visitors.
Yeah, right on, dude. So then, I mean, you've had a lot of experience in this space. I'm sure that you've seen, between before you started Groundbreaker and so forth, you see a lot of clients probably doing right things, and some clients, are experienced with those that are doing wrong things and so forth. And, for those that don't have success with it, what do you see as some of the maybe common, mistakes that people make that don't have success?
Well, you could just go wrong in your underwriting, in thinking that you're getting something that's going to perform better than it is and making assumptions that aren't realistic with the market, or underdoing the amount of capex in your financial model. If you're going into a value add play, there's also a lot of problems with zoning if you're trying to do a zoning play and you can't get it through legally, and that can have cost overruns and time delays. um, Spending too much money on your documents and going wrong with the wrong attorneys can be real drag for people that are just starting out. um, People will try to take you for what you're worth when you're just getting in and you don't know anything. So those things like getting a website, getting your documents done, it's all out of pocket money, and people need to be careful to use good service providers. We know a great network of service providers that provide the docs and websites, and work by connecting people with those folks so that they can avoid those common pitfalls as well.
Yeah, love it. And then speaking to the due diligence performed, because it sounds like that's such a, crucial portion to it. What are some of the, important things to make sure when you're doing your due diligence? I know you just spoke to some of those, with the common mistakes that people make, but,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the most important things that you find that are crucial during that due diligence period?
Give yourself enough time and preparation to really figure out your due diligence and your strategy before you go and you have a deal that you want to close on, and don't rush through that process. Make sure that you do, more than what you think you need to do, just so that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. I think the more you study and the more you prepare, like that Abraham Lincoln thing about the 5 hours sharpening your axe to cut it down in 1 hour or something if you had six. It's really that, you got to prepare your due diligence, study it very carefully, and go slow in the process so that you can get it right.
Yep. Yep. Love it, dude. So then, uh, when it comes to the can you kind of break down, I know with you guys' technology, you have, a CRM component and so forth. And how does that allow people to, and this might be a silly question, but to be able to go out there and really scale? Because a lot of people overlook the importance of effective systems, right? And the ability that, I mean, systems can really set you free with that, the help of being able to scale and so forth.
Well, investors can sign up to your portal, and then you'd be able to see who's asking to be signed up. You can approve them to get access to it. So you don't necessarily need to, the old-fashioned way would be like, all right, you have to find the people. Then they're like, okay, yeah, email me. And then you write an email just one-on-one to them. And they're like, oh, I'm interested. Like, send me more information. And then it's like, okay, then you have to go and do that. And you're doing this every time for every single person. So if you have Groundbreaker, people can click on your portal, they can register, you can allow them to get access, they can look at the deal, they can look at all the documents, and then they can ask you questions after they're fully informed on what the opportunity is. And then you have one conversation with them and they're like, okay, yeah, I think I could do this. And then they might be, going down the investment process right then and there. And I didn't even talk about that. I mean, doing that the manual way, it's like, okay, let me see the subscription agreement. Okay, great. And then, you're basically operating in a black box. You don't know, have they looked at it? Are they going to do it? And there's all those systems that you have to build as well that are just, more small tools or more small systems and more steps that you have to take to get that person to sign, then get them the wire instructions, then confirm their wire. And all this stuff takes time. And it's just these little kind of things that you have to do for each and every investor that are going to suck up all your time. And it's going to take you out of doing more deals, being able to talk to, more investors and even perform on a deal that you have operating.
Yep. Yep. Love it, dude. And what are, if somebody is looking for investors, right? And I know, man, you mentioned before, right, talk with friends, family, and so forth, but, maybe somebody's sitting there saying, hey, man, I don't have, my friends and family don't have the capability to be able to invest, or maybe they just don't feel comfortable going after them. What are other ways that, people can go out there and network and find that investor capital, or the investors themselves?
Yeah. There's like doing this podcast is a great idea. Like what you're doing right now. I'm sure you get to talk to a lot of important people by doing it, creating content, being a thought leader by producing information and adding value to people's lives, whether it's through social media, podcasting, writing your own blog. You can be able to get more eyeballs on what it is that you're doing, and going through friends to get referrals to different people. Maybe you'll meet your business partner that way. Maybe joining a mastermind. Once COVID is over and you can do events again, like going to places like the Best Ever Conference and meeting a bunch of investors there.
Yep. Yep. Love it, dude. Now going back to you with Groundbreaker and your journey with it, what have been some of the biggest, I guess, learning lessons, obstacles that you've had to overcome during this journey that, I know people might frame them as failures or so forth, but growth only happens through suffering, right? They can become those great learning lessons, great assets. What have been, some of those biggest, I guess, learning lessons, that have allowed you guys to really be able to, grow and scale to where you are?
Well, being able to find the right people to be on your team and giving them the space and room to be able to grow and taking care of them, that's a huge lesson. You can't do everything alone. You have to be able to give control and give other people the ability to add value. And, you do that by not trying to do it all yourself and giving people opportunity. Create a vision, disseminate that vision, and then assemble people around you who add, complementary skills that are better than you at the things that, you're already doing, and scale yourself out of a job. That's really how, but that doesn't be, it's not obvious at the beginning. It's like, it's your business, it's your baby. It's hard to be able to do that, but you have to be willing to do it and come in with the right mentality, and then continually check your ego.
Yeah, no, I love that, dude. And then, it sounds like when you're kind of going through the journey with Groundbreaker that, it got to a point which created a great opportunity for you because you were able to buy out, some of the partners and so forth. And but as they were, leaving and experiencing, I don't know, what do you want to call it, downtimes, hardships, whatever, with the company, like what kept you pushing forward with it? Was it, just knowing that this was such a needed product for the industry with your previous experience? Like what kept you pushing through those tough times?
Well, so this is really my first business. I've done other things, but this one really had legs. And so I believed in it. I believed in the need, but I also wanted the challenge, and it's a personal challenge to be able to overcome being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, and getting something to the point where it can be successful. And so I just took the challenge on myself to be able to learn and adapt and roll with the punches, because I don't ever want to give up. And it's just my mentality is to not give up and persevere and to work hard. And, this is a fun and interesting role. And I believe that if I could keep going, I'm going to keep learning more. I'm going to keep getting better. And yeah, I'm going to make mistakes and fall on my face, but I just can't stop believing.
Yeah, love it, man. And then, I know that as far as your clientele, through all this COVID craziness, your clientele, I mean, they're people always need rooftops, right? Places to live and so forth. But, as a business, I mean, what have been some of the struggles that you guys have had to overcome during this kind of COVID-19 craziness that we're still in the middle of?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, it was just really hard to see what was going to happen. And so I was very afraid, not going to lie. I was like really concerned, and I tried to figure out ways that I could conserve cash and just, be smart about making sure that we have enough money, that we're going to be able to make it, whatever happens with sales. Um, and, that was a significant hurdle, more psychologically than anything, just being able to keep going and keep believing in myself. And even though, other people doubted me and people were, really like, I could see just all those people that I would have called on and thought like could help me, they just all disappeared like immediately. I was like, I'm alone, you know, I've got to do this. And I just rallied my team around me and said, hey guys, this is what it is. Are we going to do this? And then, got the buy-in and we were like, yeah, we're going to do it. And just can't make that collective decision and come with that mindset that we're not going to give up and we're going to keep going. That really helped me get through it. And even though I was afraid, I think, just time solved that kind of fear. And we've coming out the other end, like much better off than where we started.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I mean, yeah, during times like, I don't want to say that, like times like, I guess we're still in this time. I don't want people watching this and still live on forever, but
Yeah.
it's when leaders step up, man. It's when it separates, leaders from the non-leaders, man. And sometimes, but I love that you brought up that you were scared, right? Because the reality is everybody has doubts, right? But it doesn't mean that, you can't push those and keep driving.
Yeah, it's important. I think it's healthy to recognize that emotion. It didn't exactly click with me until maybe 2 weeks ago when I had a talk with my team looking back. But yeah, it's a scary time and there's a lot of things that are up in the air. We didn't know, like, are our clients going to renew? Are they going to keep paying us? Are investors going to keep supporting us? Are people going to leave because I don't know, like what's going to happen? So just be able to get that belief and be able to persevere. That's kind of the key that I keep hearing from other entrepreneurs. And when you listen to other people talk about how they were able to do it, it's just not giving up.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, man, with, because we hear in the media of, all these, tenants not paying rents and, all these landlords not being able to evict their tenants and whatever. But, the media isn't always portraying reality. Sometimes there can be a disconnect, right? From your guys' clientele and so forth. I mean, is it as bad as what some of the media is portraying with that?
No, it's not. It's not that bad actually. That might be artificially inflated though because of unemployment. So we will see. I mean, over this period of time since those federal benefits have been in order, we haven't really seen any like much of a decrease at all in the rent collection. Maybe some decreases in rents for people that wanted to be proactive and make sure their tenants would continue to pay and everything, but nothing drastic. I think it's only like a minor change, like maybe a percent or couple of percentage points from what we saw last year. So
Yep. Love it, dude. So then, where for those that are watching and listening, man, like if they want to check out Groundbreaker, or if we have a lot of real estate agents listening to this that might have investor clients that they want to drive there, like where's the best place to check it out and get more information on it at?
the best place to find us is at groundbreaker.co. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can add Jake Marmelstein on LinkedIn. Come find me there. Throw a connection my way. Be happy to chat. And also, you can email Jake at groundbreaker.co.
Yeah, awesome, man. So just one last quick question for you. Throughout this journey, if Jake today, knowing everything that you know now through your experience and all the lessons learned and so forth, if Jake today could go back to Jake when you first started Groundbreaker and give yourself two pieces of advice that you feel would have just really fast forwarded, your success journey that you've been on, what would those two pieces of advice look like?
I love the question, but it's just really hard because, the knowledge that I have now was so important to me being able to be here. So advice doesn't really help. I think you need to be able to go through the pain and find the lessons yourself, because you can broaden your understanding of what you actually need at that time. And so I don't think, like, giving me the advice, I probably wouldn't have even listened to myself. It doesn't, but maybe the best advice would be like, don't be greedy, don't be pig-headed. If you're going to be successful, like, just drive towards success and make the company great. Don't worry about, giving things away to people. I've typically protected the equity in the cap table extremely well, and sometimes it's hurt me and sometimes it's helped me. So maybe in some ways I would be a little bit more generous with certain people, and it would have accelerated the growth of the company, or I would have attracted different types of talent in those early days where it was really difficult and I was alone.
Yeah. Love it, dude. Yeah. And you're right, man. I mean, it's, I don't want to say easy, but with all the information that's out there today, it's, there's no shortage of information on what to do, but it's very difficult, if not impossible, to figure out what not to do. And we got to go through those lessons, right, to be able to grow and expand into leaders and so forth. So, completely agree with that, man. And Jake, dude, I know you're an extremely busy man. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Josh. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and I hope everybody listening enjoyed the show as well.
Yep, 100%, my man. And those watching, listening, wherever you're at, if you scroll below up, all Jake's contact information, the link right to go check out Groundbreaker, all Jake's contact information, as he mentioned, on there. And again, those that are watching, listen, we truly appreciate your support, truly appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.